When the first humans of other civilizations were visiting our Earth, and later the first humans of our civilization flew at the outer edge of our stratosphere, they noticed the blue beautiful halo of our Earth, and they were mesmerized. For the first time, the extraterrestrials and us realized that our Earth is a given gift of the cosmos, to be developed the human life. The extraterrestrials knew much more about the relations among the ecosystems of nature in each of the planets they had visited, and so they tried to explain to our humanity in our Earth the importance of such relations, of the ecosystems of the nature of our Earth as part of the macro ecosystem of our planet, which is part of the grander ecosystem of our Sun. For millions of years, our humanity lived in our Earth, and behaved in very different modes of living needs of humans, and with our human needs expanding, so were expanded our human activities on Earth, which time after time came to a clash with different ecosystems of the nature of our Earth. Is it coincidental or not that the viruses Nova and rotaviruses joined in the compound of norovirus? Corona-19, SARS, MRSA, Ebola, and other superbugs, as they are called in the medical circles, is the answer of our Earth's damaged multiple ecosystems to our reckless behavior and our ignorance. This is only the beginning of our long-repeated history of progressive achievements, combined with our arrogance towards science, and above all our arrogance towards the nature of our Earth, which is also our home. When we are cutting the forests, and we are plowing the turf of the forests, we change drastically several ecosystems, which means we damage the multiple ecosystems of the forests and our Earth. Then the bacteria and viruses in their billions and billions, which lost their safe breeding ground off the turf of the forests, they are released above the surface of the Earth and in the air that we breathe and where we live, which means that we become more often the destined breeding bodies with our soft tissues for the viruses and bacteria in their billions and billions. However, the new compounds of bacteria and viruses are not contained anymore within the turf of the forests, and they will follow the laws of the nature of Earth, which means for our bodies to be tested and even destroyed in such a path, because our immune system has gone long ago living away from the forests, because we are sophisticated human beings, but always we are associated with our ignorance, naivety, forgetfulness, and even ambiguity and stupidity, because our human story of development reaches further with more deviations. We humans are the children of Earth, and it is our duty to protect the natural environment of Earth.
We know that it's the same member of a larger family of these viruses known as coronaviruses. They actually exist everywhere. They spend a lot of their time with animals. So this is the third virus that has crossed. So we have SARS-1, MERS, and now SARS-2. We are beginning a completely uncharted journey with this virus. We don't understand a lot because the behavior is completely different. For every virus, there is a certain level of lethality. There is a lethal dose. There is how much of this virus you need to have in your lungs before it kills you or before it makes you sick. With this virus, it's not very clear. It's actually very disturbing. There have been some interesting reports that they've had people who were sick and they were cured. They released them out of the hospital and then they got reinfected.
It is proved that nucleic acids and even bacteria or viruses arrive from space on Earth through spatial bodies. The nucleic acids, as known being constituents of living organisms, are comparable in importance to proteins. There is evidence that they are involved in the processes of cell division and growth. The global warming is man-made due to our intense industrial activities on Earth for the last 200 years, using fossil fuels and releasing intense gases and chemicals in our atmosphere. This is proved with the warming at the surface of the Earth and the cooling being higher towards the stratosphere of our Earth. The measurements of the contents of the gases in our atmosphere prove that the warming is caused by the heat-trapped gases near the surface of the Earth. The increase of the drastical temperatures on the surface of the Earth triggers a chain reaction of other ecosystems in the surface of the Earth. For example, the unpredictable change of weather patterns causing the rise of the dryness of the Earth's crust, alternated with flooding, and the increase of the temperature of the acidity of the water mass of the seas and oceans. Meanwhile, our forests being drastically cut for industrial planting of monotrees, damaging the diversity of naturally created forests on Earth. However, it is not too late to realize that we are destroying our large forests, which have sustained us for millions of years, because the forests of our Earth have multiple functions to support our living. The forests with their trees capture the carbon dioxide and release the oxygen, and they maintain the levels of humidity to regulate formidably the seasonal patterns of weather in different parts of Earth. They maintain the levels of humidity to regulate and disperse the sources of drinking water in different parts of Earth for us humans and other living creatures. They provide to us humans the timber materials as long as we care for their sustenance, and even they serve us as a lush mode of shelter in the most extreme temperatures of weather. They contribute to the pathways for the wind to clean our pollution of smoke and other gases, which released in our atmosphere from our industries. They capture the bacteria and viruses floating from space to the surface of our planet, because it is proved scientifically that the dark space around our planet is not dead, and there are lurking bacteria and viruses which often we do not know. Furthermore, the forests create the turf in their ground, which in itself is another ecosystem of the roots of their trees, rotten leaves, small and medium living creatures, which let their corpses change form in the turf. And the turf contains billions and billions of the bacteria and viruses that, if we maintain the forests, they provide to us humans sources of medicines, which we need more due to the change that we have done to the ecosystems of nature. It is proved scientifically that the Mayan and Aztec societies in Latin America, as well as the Khmer society in Angkor Wat of Cambodia, vanished due to deforestation, which triggered destruction of several ecosystems on those areas at the time. Furthermore, we are polluting our rivers, our seas and even oceans, because we are dumping in them our chemicals of the industry, and even our all sorts of rubbish, including synthetic rubbish, which are destroying further several other ecosystems of the 2/3 of the water mass of planet Earth. That many species of our rivers, seas and oceans are dying, and are being destroyed the fauna and flora of the water mass of Earth to extinction scale. The Book of Exodus describes the 10 plagues, including diseases such as boils caused by Staphylococcus aureus bacteria or smallpox caused by the variola virus. It describes the highly contagious disease of rinderpest caused by a virus in the group of viruses of canine distemper and measles, which originated from Asia and spread in northern Africa, ancient Egypt and the surroundings, that rapidly killed off the livestock of the humans. It describes the agricultural blights, such as locusts, which destroyed the harvests. It describes natural or astronomical plagues, such as storms of fire or darkness. and in the 10th plague it describes the killing of all firstborn Egyptian sons by smallpox that had affected communities in Egypt at least 3,000 years ago, based on evidence of smallpox scars found on several mummies dating back to that period, including the mummy of Pharaoh Ramses V, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Also, the epidemiologists of our modern sciences have proved that the algae bloom that turned the rivers to reddish color released mycotoxins, which are poisonous substances that can cause disease and death in humans, according to a 2003 review in the journal Clinical Microbiology Reviews. The grain contaminated with these mycotoxins had been deadly and can explain the death of the firstborn children. Also, as written in the Arabic plague treatises, which were written in the mid-14th century after the Black Death, which was a second plague pandemic, such tragic history is attributed to the cyclical recurrences of the plague in the Middle East, following the plague of Justinian in the beginning of 541 AD, and the Bombay plague in the end of the 19th century. The Roman philosopher and physician Galen and the philosopher Lucretius believed that disease can be spread via air, and previous physicians and philosophers believed that disease can be spread airborne and by physical contact. So, the history of our humanity on Earth has proved that viral and microbial risk heightens since the times when humans breached the barriers between themselves and animals living in the forests, and particularly when for conquest purposes the humans destroy the forests and they cause wars. Our justifications of repeating damage to the ecosystems of the nature of Earth were within the level of our naivety combined with our ignorance and forgetfulness, due to our indulgence of fulfilling our living needs as long as the nature of our Earth was providing its goodness to us. But with time our numbers were increasing together with our standards of living needs, which today we could call consumerism. And even we invented other duplicitous concepts to serve our justifications, such as our greed is good, money is the driving force for us, financial products of banks, gig economy, zero-hour contracts, and other selfish concepts of little humanoids living in their shellbox provided by the ecosystems of the nature of our Earth, and even further ignorant and envious attempts, combined with our aggressive behaviors of colonialism and neo-colonialism, to evaluate financially the resources of the nature's ecosystems of our Earth. And even we dare in our path of ambiguity to evaluate financially the resources of our moon, and further and beyond planet Mars. Did our rich elites not learn that they exist to be rich due to the well-being of the millions and billions of the workforce of our humanity working in the giant economic machines of their banks, industrial corporations, and other producing sites on our Earth, which increases their profits of trillions and trillions? When us humans have so much momentarily selfish indulgence that we can reach even megalomania, that we know everything and we become rich and enclosed in our shellbox even under the ground, with air conditioners like ostriches, which bury their heads in the sand, then we continue to release furthermore for the last 200 years all the chemical gases of our industries in our air that we breathe. We never listen to the bells of alarm raised by our scientists, that even we are destroying the ozone layer of our Earth. This shows the ignorance combined with triviality of those politicians, who ignore our scientists. Due to our ignorance, we incite the tourism at the glaciers for the profit of money and pleasure, to find the joy at their grandiose destruction without understanding that we are destroying our ecosystems and ourselves. Our humanity in our Earth also reckons to have other rational mode of thinking, that we are the children of planet Earth. So we expand our numbers and our activities to improve our standards of living needs, in accordance with the principles of maintaining the ecosystems of the nature of our Earth through family planning and excellent utilization of technology, serving not to destroy the forests, which are the barrier between the wild frontier and our civilized urban cities of our Earth. We should understand that eco-expansion of our humanity does not have anything to do with colonialism or neo-colonialism. Most of us humans, we should enjoy the beauty of the diverse nature of our Earth, and for those who look for adventure, the new frontiers of the Moon, Mars, and other planets are still open for them, but with better knowledge to know what is life. Many rich entrepreneurs of our humanity, they are right to speak with extreme confidence about going to Mars, but they should know more about our Earth in order to avoid a short-sighted view of human life and life in general. As well, certain political leaders, who their folks die from hunger on Earth, and they send rockets and rovers on the Moon. Again, they should know more about our Earth, in order not to have a short-sighted view of human life and life in general, which is widespread on other similar planets like Earth, of other solar systems and other galaxies. They should tell more to us about the hostile environment in Mars and the moons of our solar system, and above all they should not hide the facts that the extraterrestrials flying around our Earth and our solar system, and actions of extraterrestrials watching us at everything that we do. The extraterrestrial civilizations know that our humanity on Earth has reached a crossroad in our development, that our societies have to make a leap of further development through the leap of technology and the mentalities with outward communication with other civilizations. Or, our societies on our Earth have reached their culminant stage, and their development is stopping with inclination inwards to destroy ourselves through our ignorance, because the more we know, the more is our ignorance for what we need to know further, and this is combined with unpredictable means of consuming ourselves to death. I am asking all humans, do they enjoy the beauty of the diverse nature of our Earth, in comparison with the deserts of the Moon and Mars and beyond? So, the turf of our forests is the breeding ground in safety for all the bacteria and viruses, and it is the turf of the forests where the laboratory of the nature of our Earth creates its new bacterial and viral compounds, within the boundaries of the laws of the nature of Earth, within the boundaries of the cosmological laws, etc. Because we still are learning more in our awakening process. The turf of the forests on our Earth, it is the playground of a dense population of wild animals, from the smallest to other bigger creatures and insects, fungi, and plants, that in total 80% of the species live in our forests. So the forests provide the barrier between our civilized urban cities and the wild frontier of our Earth, in order to provide sustained resources for our humanity. Do you enjoy and love the beauty and smell of the wild flowers of the forests, which provide the medicine for us humans? As it has happened also with some extraterrestrials, who have destroyed their home planets. Us humans, when we are rich and enclosed in our shell boxes with our air conditioners, which is some expression of our technology, we think that we can become like gods. Even we individual humans on this earth without proper education but with loads of money, we think that we are transformed. We demonstrate populism to become even leaders of the nations or states, and we choose to produce atomic weapons. If anybody disagrees with us, we threaten them. We produce even more dangerous weapons as bioweapons, or we try to extend the reach of nuclear weapons. Furthermore, we think that we can dare to colonize even our moon and other planets to use extensively their resources to the end, because we think that we are masters of the universe, with absolute rights everywhere, and we forget that we are being watched by the extraterrestrials.
I think that we are, as a species, approaching what you might call an inflection point. There are a number of things which are going to change the environment in which we think and in which we live. One of them, of course, is the almost certain development of guiding our own future evolution. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually we will be changing our genomes. We will be guiding our own evolution. We will be living not just on this planet, there will be human settlements on other planets, starting with Mars. We will be relying not only on our own minds, or even on what today are called advanced computers. There will be computers of such great power that they don't merely answer the questions that we pose. They will be posing questions, and they will be perhaps even giving orders. Furthermore, the whole structure of the world economy will change in ways that cannot be foreseen, but at least at present, the extreme inequality of the distribution of wealth drives social unrest, and the ability to see what's happening over the web means that people see this inequality. And climate change will also drive migrations of people. So a large number of things, including those and some others, are going to cause rapid and profound change. By rapid, I don't mean tomorrow, but the time span of which I'm thinking is of maybe centuries. It's wrong to think that the human beings are a fixed species. We've been evolving up to this point. We continue to evolve. We are just a snapshot of the makeup of the human race. It will continue to change, maybe even split up into varieties, maybe even species. So that can happen only, of course, if you have human populations with no communication between them. But if very widely separated bodies in space become populated, travel between them might be so unusual. And I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm not a wild-eyed science fiction person. We will be able to probe nature and modify nature to a degree that's difficult to think of. And what is it we need to think about? Well, I'd say the thing we need to think about, or one of the things we need to think about, is in all of this change, what is it that we want not to change? And I would say that what we want not to change, and even to enhance, is our humanity. So that leads to the question of what is our humanity? What is it that we most value in being human? Is it the feeling that nearly all human beings have when you are helping someone or being useful to someone, being loved by someone, whether a family member or an organization which you serve? This generally gives pleasure. If you feel unneeded, uncared for by anybody or by any organization, by any outfit, I don't think there are many people who would find that pleasant. And it's that feeling which has allowed us to cooperate. There's no way in which complete individuals, we couldn't build homes, we couldn't do anything together. We couldn't do science, really, because that requires also collaboration. So that's one. Another thing is the feeling of awe. I think we value that a lot. Another is curiosity. We value that a lot. Compassion. So I don't think that we've even seriously written down and thought about what is the most essential thing if we continue to evolve, even in a natural manner, but of course now greatly speeded up by intervention. What is it we want not to change? So how do you decide on that? It seems to me you need not just biologists, you need humanists. What we need to do on a small scale, say here at Harvard, at universities, is try and interest the very best young scientists and the very best young humanists to get together, something which doesn't happen now, to begin thinking about these things. We need the very best young scientists. Perhaps we're asking, basically, what is the right relationship between humans? What is the right relationship between the individual and the state? What is a good life? What is virtue? So it's very hard to be more specific about these things because not much thought has gone into them. But it would be good to begin now, even though it's a really long way off. But I'm sure it will happen, unless some kind of disaster overwhelms us before that. Sooner or later, bar a real disaster, we will be determining our own evolution. Long time from now. Don't get the idea I'm saying that's tomorrow. It's not. And I'm not talking really about the domain of bioethicists. That's different. Bioethics has to do with the immediate consequences, that you might lose your privacy, that you might begin to discriminate between people in an unfair way because of some genetic attribute. Things like that. That's important, but it's not bioethics that's needed for the problem I'm addressing. It's needed for other problems. The problem I'm addressing is the long-term future of our species. So now I think the question to which I've given this long-winded answer is, what is your concern about human race? You better hurry up, because that is a clicking clock. And it's clicked quite a bit. But over the long term, human beings are going to be guiding their own evolution. The problem is that which human beings? Well, only the rich ones, of course. There's a problem there. Of course, that's only part of the general problem of the inequality of the distribution of the wealth which we produce and which nature offers. It's distributed very unequally. And people are beginning to understand that because they can see. Also, the nature of capitalism, and see now, here I'm a biologist, so don't take any of this too seriously, but the nature of capitalism has changed. Draining money from a multitude of people into a very few people. Now that's okay if the very few people spend it, but they don't spend it. They allow it to accumulate. So that we have more and more money that's accumulating. In this sense, that capitalism is failing us. It's certainly making better things still, entrepreneurs and all that, but it is not distributing the wealth in a way that will make society coherent and stable. See, even nuclear weapons, they blow you up. They don't change you, especially climate change. Climate change is happening, for sure. We know that there are big political changes happening, for sure. And if nothing has happened in the way of even bioterrorism for all these years, there never has been any biological warfare, but there had been preparations for it. That's what has been stopped.